Thank you to the host for one of the most beautiful introductions. Um, my name is Taufiq, and as you may have noticed, some of you may have noticed that I decided to wear almost all white today, which is a little concerning when you consider the fact that I could easily ruin it while eating or drinking something on a day like this. But someone I knew very closely once said that anything that is ever good has been the result of a risk that someone took. And with that, I would like to welcome you to the art of taking risks. Now, life is full of risks. Some are small, like trying sushi for the first time. Others are, well, a little more life altering, like moving to an entirely new country overnight. I know this because it happened to me. One day I was mapping out my future after IGCSE, like many of you, figuring out where I would fit in, what connections I would make, and what my next steps would be. But the next, I was thrown into an entirely new environment, packing my bags for Qatar, with no warning, no transition period, no gradual adjustment, just surprise, you live here now. And I, and let me tell you, I was not prepared. I mean, how do you process something like that? One moment you're prepared and familiar with everything that's around you, and the next you're trying to figure out what the waiter meant when they said "Hal targhab fi al-dafailan," which for your information just means if you would like to pay now. But by now you could probably tell how it went for me. I took the risk. I jumped into MUN, becoming the Deputy Secretary General and hosting our own Model United conference. I even led positions such as Deputy Head Boy for Newton, being able to raise money for charity, and even represented my school through cricket every now and then. And looking back, it was not smooth sailing at first. But embracing that change, taking that risk, it shaped everything. It made me who I am today, being able to pursue engineering in one of the top universities of Qatar and shaping its badminton team. Let me tell you, it was not as cool as jumping out of an airplane, but it beats the alternative of just sitting on the sidelines. And one of the biggest questions left unanswered in today's economy is the silent power of language. Why some crises make headlines and others don't? Imagine a girl called Layla. She lives in Gaza and dreams of becoming a journalist. In the middle of war, she writes powerful reflections in Arabic, stories of fear, resilience, and hope. She posts them online, but they rarely ever leave her corner of the internet. Not because her voice isn't strong, not because her story isn't compelling, but simply because it's in a language that the world doesn't listen to. Few international outlets translate them, and while I am fortunate enough to understand almost four languages, few people outside of her world ever even read her words. In war zones, language becomes more than just a way to communicate. It becomes a wall. Behind that wall are thousands of people like Layla telling stories of strength, survival, and identity that never make the headlines. Today, I also want to explore how language barriers shape what the world cares about and how we can amplify voices like Layla's. Because sometimes, to change the world, all it takes is one calculated risk. As I mentioned before, taking that one risk of embracing the change, it shaped everything for me. But I'm not the only one who embraces risks. People embrace challenges in their own ways, each with their own approach. So, what kind of risk taker are you? Let's take a look at them. We have the calculated risk taker, someone who thinks everything through, like planning a weekend getaway down to the snacks. They avoid the risk by preparing for every possible outcome. And then we have the visionary risk taker, like many of my friends, sees the big, bold dreams as opportunities. They take the risks that might seem impossible at first, but have the potential to change the future. Then there's a few who are the impulsive risk taker, makes decision on a whim, often little to no planning, and lives by, why not? And sometimes, uh-oh. In fact, me and a group of friends conducted a survey asking people about the risks of Qatar. And I don't quite know which is worse, the fact that 60% make an impulsive decision or the fact that 60 people just admitted to overspeeding on the highway, which is technically illegal. Now, just for a moment, let's rewind to the greatest risk taking moments in history. We had the Wright brothers deciding, hey, let's make a flying bicycle. And boom, we got airplanes. And then there was Christopher Columbus deciding, let's just sail west and see what happens. Turns out it was not India. But here's 20 more examples if you were interested. Now that we understand the importance of taking risks, here's the thing. When I moved to Qatar, I had two choices. I could either sit back, play it safe, and let life sort itself out for me. Or I could take the risk, try new things, put myself out there, even if it meant failing spectacularly. Such as the time I was hoping to make an ionic plasma thruster so I could impress Mr. Kogjian, my physics teacher at that time. But it turns out, when you don't fully think things through, you don't end up with the ionic plasma thruster like that. You end up with a taser that puts out 400,000 kilovolts. Now, to put that into perspective, that's 3,000 times the electric fences used to keep elephants away. It's enough to shock you to death and bring you back to life. And I was just standing there holding it. Yeah, this seems totally fine. But that's the beauty about risk. It's uncomfortable, unpredictable, and sometimes downright terrifying when you're getting into something and you don't know the outcome of it. But it's also the one thing that could lead to growth, discovery, and even the most unexpected successes. It may be what leads someone to learn another language, find a new job, or even become the next billionaire. I remember having a silly little conversation with one of my friends not too long ago. He asked me, Taufiq, what's the biggest risk you've ever taken? I paused for a moment, thinking back to the time I took on huge challenges like stepping up to organize major events or speaking in front of hundreds of people. So I said, honestly, I would say it was when I took on that huge event at school, leading the show, talking in front of everyone. That felt like a big risk to me. He looked at me, kind of puzzled. That's the riskiest thing you've done? You seem like a pretty cautious person to me. I paused, I looked at him, a bit surprised. Cautious? Come on, talking in front of hundreds of people, that seems like a big risk. I could stutter anytime. He took a second and then said, well, I think the riskiest thing I've ever done is text my crush. I paused, I looked at him, waiting for a punchline, like, seriously, text your crush? He looked at me, nodded, dead serious. Yeah, I sent her a text asking what's up, and she left me on red for 6 months. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Wow, talk about living life on the edge, huh? But here's the thing. That conversation made me realize something important. For my friend, texting his crush was a huge risk. For me, stepping up to organize and manage a huge event was a serious challenge. But the essence of risk and gambling all odds is the willingness to step out of your comfort zone, whether it's giving a speech or deciding what to send your crush. The funny thing is, risk doesn't look the same to everyone. It's about what feels uncomfortable and challenging to you. That's what makes risk something to master. But risks aren't just about personal growth. They're also about making a difference. Today, one of the biggest risks people take is using social media to challenge injustice, to push for change. The awareness posts I see all the time, think about those who use digital platforms to raise awareness for crucial issues, risking their reputation, their career, and even their education to shine a light on problems the world may have never heard of otherwise. But social media isn't just about personal expression either. It has evolved into a powerful tool for change. In fact, today nearly 69% of adults believe it's one of the best ways to spread awarenesses about global challenges. 55% of people who engage with those causes online actually act offline. But there's always a risk. 33% of users hesitate to speak up out of fear of criticism. Those who do take the leap are 2.5 times more likely to gain trust and make an impact, though. Maybe the biggest risk isn't moving to a new country or texting your crush. Maybe it's choosing to stand up for what's right, even when no one else does. In fact, one of the most inspiring people in my life is my mother. In December 2023, she made a decision that would change everything for our family. While me and my dad were in Qatar, she returned to Bangladesh alone with a vision to build not just one, but two homes. It was a monumental task, especially since she had to do it all by herself. She wasn't just planning for a future just for us, but for those in need as well. She was taking a huge risk, trusting in her own abilities. Building a home from scratch is never easy, let me tell you that. Especially without the comfort of your family support around, she didn't wait for the perfect moment or for all conditions to align. She embraced the unknown each day, facing a new challenge and learning from them. But what my mom showed me during this time was the art of taking risks. Risk taking isn't just about blindly jumping into every opportunity that comes your way either. It's about understanding the nature of the risks and the potential impact. The key lies in knowing which risks to take and which ones to avoid. Think about it this way. Not all risks are created equal. Some risks are calculated based on data, experience, and advice from trusted sources. These are the risks, when approached thoughtfully, can lead to positive results. Others may be impulsive, driven by fear or the pressure to keep up with others. These are the risks that can cause harm not just to you, but to those around you. Take, for example, doctors. Would you ever visit a doctor knowing that he couldn't read a graph? Or fly an airplane knowing that the pilot doesn't know the difference between longitude and latitude? Or hire a programmer that doesn't know how to program? But the point being, depending on your perspective, some risks are meant to be avoided, while some are necessary, like developing skills in your passion and having a solid plan to turn that passion into a sustainable career. Because without a solid plan, that same leap, that same risk could lead to financial instability, stress, and regret. Therefore, there are times when not taking a risk is equally important. Refusing to take the risk of following a path that doesn't align with your values and goals is a form of wisdom. Sometimes not deciding at all, waiting until the right time can be the riskiest move of all. But the art of taking risks lies in balancing these moments, understanding when to act, when to pause, and when to trust your intuition. Because remember, sometimes not taking a risk is the greatest risk of all. And I hope that this talk comes to your mind the next time you make a decision, as this was all possible thanks to my dad for giving me one of the best childhoods one could ask for, and my friends who came to watch me today. Last, most importantly, my teachers, and the TEDx team at NIA for organizing such a wonderful event. And remember this, only the brave can dream big. Thank you very much.